Switzerland, the Delaware of Europe. Hello, and welcome to the Eurowhat, episode 248, dropping on December 17th, 2024. We are a pair of Americans trying to make sense of the Eurovision Song Contest. I'm Ben Smith, and I'm here with my co-host, Mike McComb. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Ben.
In this episode, we'll be talking about December headlines. Oh boy, there's just an avalanche of news has hit us.
I mean, we named our last news episode Avalanche, which was only, 5 weeks ago, I want to say. But man, everything has happened in the last 5 weeks. From an organizational standpoint, I love it. Everything is pretty much mapped out for up till mid-March, but it would have been nice to know that that was going to be the case when we were planning out our off season.
Yeah. Well, I'm just in particular, the last week, it feels like every broadcaster has been in a race to get their last press release out before they can slam on their out of office for the holidays message. So we're just getting pelted with 20 to 30 contestant names at a time, trying to keep our bohanas straight from our Kurts, from our whatevers.
I guess that's our way of saying this episode may be a little bit longer than a usual one, but there's just a lot going on right now.
We have been asking the question all off season, is everybody still mad at the EBU? It seems like things are resolved for the most part.
For the most part, or at least as resolved as they can be. They have a strategy in place, and now we're going to see what works, what doesn't.
We have done some mitigation. We officially have 38 countries competing, which, fun fact, that is a Eurovision participation scoregami. It's the first time that the field has been 38 countries. That is a unique number, that surprised me. I felt certain that 38 had happened before.
Yeah, it's been 37 a couple of times. It's been 39. And yeah, it just seems like it should have happened at this point. But there was that time where it was 40 or more countries for a few years. So congratulations. We're still able to find unique quirks with every contest. So.
Exactly. That will be 16 entries in each semifinal. That semifinal allocation will be the 28th of January. What the 38 means is we have everybody who was participating last year, plus Montenegro, who we will get to in a minute.
Yeah, we will.
Also, sort of in the mitigation, we now know there's going to be a code of conduct that needs to be signed by all participants and some duty of care docs.
We are recording this on Sunday, the 15th. These docs were originally supposed to be published last week, but, these things happen, and we most recently heard that they were going to be made available on Monday, the 16th. So, yes, future us knows that this has happened. I don't know. We're in timey-wimey land right now. So
yeah, what we do know, this applies to delegations, media, and staff. Other stuff that came out of what I thought was a very good interview that appeared in Variety, I think. Some of the other things we're going to see, rehearsals are going to be more closed, and they're trying to do some schedule adjustments so that contestants have more time where they're not just trapped in the Eurovision bubble. Both of which sound good to me.
I agree. That is such a grueling 2-week period, especially if you make it to the final. That's just you just hear how tired everybody is by the time the Saturday show happens.
Yeah, and just giving contestants more time on the stage as a safe space. I feel like that's going to affect our ability to see things during rehearsal more, but I think that's a good thing.
Which is fine. That's not time for the media. That is time for the acts to figure their stuff out. This past year, we only had access to the dress rehearsals and the family show, the jury show, and that sort of thing. And I would be concerned if we lost access to those. But for the longest time, we didn't have access to any of that. We just had what was aired on TV as it happened. So
exactly. Yeah. So just I'm happy to see that they're trying to figure out what can we do that makes that space for the artists a saner and a safer space.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's already stressful enough. Anything they can do to mitigate, I'm totally on board.
Yes.
So, along with the code of conduct and duty of care documents, there also planning on releasing other details about the contest this week. So the stage design, which is going to be handled by Florian Vieder again. And hopefully ticket information, although, I don't know, potentially dropping tickets during the Christmas corridors, like, ooh, that's going to annoy some people.
Yeah, like just be like, they're going to go on sale this time in January.
That would be ideal, I think.
Yeah.
But, I'm saying that as someone who is just like, oh, I just need things to calm down a little bit right now. Like our doc for this episode is endless.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Just like following up on some stuff we chatted about last time we covered the news, just like there was the whole referendum in Basel. We got like a fun little peek into the Swiss governance system. Funding has been approved. Yay! Eurovision also released a economic impact report for Malmö. Malmö saw 38.5 million euro in tourism revenue for just sort of the general Malmö, Copenhagen metropolitan area, which good for them. That's like, again, like Eurovision is a huge tourism draw for anywhere that hosts, just thinking about Liverpool and how thrilled they were. So it's good to see that.
On the sponsor front, another Swiss company has been named as a sponsor, or as an official partner, is the terminology. Helvetia, which is a Swiss insurance company that is based in St. Gallen. And they're planning on opening their Basxl campus for events and parties during the Eurovision fortnight. So I've devised a little game of, is this an insurance policy or Lithuanian contestant from Eurovision last year? Are you ready to play, Ben?
I'm ready to play.
Just kidding. There is no game.
Oh, thank goodness.
But I did try to figure it out, but it's just like they didn't have names of policies. Like it's just like there aren't any groups that are named like triple platinum HMO plus. So
yeah. Okay. Whereas when I first saw this news, I was like, oh, the font is sponsoring things? Somehow it just feels correct that an insurance company is sponsoring the Swiss contest. Switzerland, the Delaware of Europe.
We have 38 countries that are going to be participating. I was counting up my spreadsheet, tracking all of the national finals and such. There are 27 countries that are having some form of national selection, and we are going to be talking about 20 of them today. That is how much news has dropped since our last episode.
Yeah, and like that is the largest proportion of entries being selected by national selection since 2011. 74% of the entries for 2025, which somehow is still not the most. The most was in 2005 when 87%.
Wow, that is wild. And like 2011 was the first contest where I did extensive coverage, and yeah, it was just like, oh, no wonder I was so tired back then.
It all makes sense now.
Yeah, but I also remember that they had like more national selections that happened in December. Like I remember Romania tied it in with their New Year's Eve celebrations and stuff, and I wouldn't object to going back to those days. And I think Montenegro is also of that opinion because they held their Montesong at the end of November. That was a hoot. I really enjoyed that experience.
Yes, like that was great. I had been running errands that day and was like racing home to be there in time, and then got there and just like could have just probably gone to the grocery store because it took like 40 minutes for things to really kind of kick off. But just like it was a very relaxed vibe at the start.
Absolutely, yes. So it's the 80-year anniversary of RTCG, Montenegro's broadcaster. So it was doing some historical highlights of that. I was actually traveling because this was Thanksgiving weekend that the contest was being held. And I thought, like, I knew it was going to be streaming on YouTube. And it's like, okay, like my husband's driving. I'll like just watch it on my phone. I'd like to be on Blue Sky to like kind of post along with it. And then discovered that there's the YouTube picture-in-picture on your phone now, and it's just like, oh, I can watch and I can post at the same time. This is amazing. Like it was just like, oh, this is why technology can still be fun. And yeah, it was a really good test run to see how the Eurovision community is building up on Blue Sky, and I don't know, like testing out the features and seeing what's working, what's not working, and it feels like it's getting closer to what the experience has been like watching national finals via social media the last several years. It
was fun again. I had a lot. I enjoyed just getting to sit on my couch and send some skeets about these songs. I also just deeply appreciated Vladana. Vladana had real Kristen Wiig "Don't Make Me Sing" energy.
Oh, yeah.
just at the drop of a hat, she was ready to go.
She was the creative director for the show. I didn't realize that she was also going to be hosting. She seemed to be having a great time. I thought it was a really well-produced show. Yeah, like it's really tricky with these smaller broadcasters. I would say it had the same production values as like the American Song Contest. It definitely had the same font as the American Song Contest. That was the thing that caught my attention the most. The performances were great. I mean, it was definitely like the Balkan ballad vibe for a good chunk of it. But I didn't think that there were any like true clunkers of performances and a lot to choose from.
They had mentioned wanting to really show the variety of what's happening in the Montenegrin music scene, and I think they absolutely succeeded on that front. As with any national final, you have your interval performances, you have other stuff happening. Where just like for me, it was just like watching the everybody on Blue Sky is just like, Emily DeForest is here?
Yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise for me as well. She's one of those like Eurovision winners who I don't think she has ill will toward the contest or anything like that, but she just seems kind of detached.
Yeah, but like I also feel like there were like a few years where she like hid Only Teardrops on Spotify. I'm just like, I'm doing different things now. Now she's like back.
It was nice to see her again. She was a member of the jury, and yeah, the jury for the show, like, kind of all over the place in like what they liked, which I think is good for a jury.
Yes.
Like you don't want to have hive mind, because what's the point of having a jury if they're all going to say the same thing?
Exactly. Yeah, and just the fact that they had essentially all 7 members of the jury on screen and were just going from person to person. Who are your top 3? And just showing you in real time. Like, it was nice. Like, it was all over the place. But I agree, you shouldn't have a jury with hive mind. Like, let's see, like, what things are really jumping out to people. So coming out of that, had Nina Žižić with 59 points, Neo Neon with 54 points, and Milena Vucic with 48 points. But then they did the thing where, like, the raw point totals became, like, 12, 10, 8.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that, but I'm not really surprised that that's the case. Like, I'm sure we're going to encounter that a few more times this season. But yeah, I also kind of felt for Emily DeForest there, because she was like, she tried her best to pronounce.
Like she was doing her best.
And the acts. Yeah, and like she apologized for it, and like even the hosts were just like, "Oh, that was a really good try." But yeah, like when it came to the televote, again, not a hive mind, very different than what the jury was into.
I just have the Marie Kondo I love mess animation in our notes of this, because it's like, it was very fun to watch both of these.
Since they were just doing like 12-10 down to 1, there were 16 contestants. So there were going to be 6 contestants that were not going to receive any points from the televote, but they were doing the televote like they do at Eurovision, where they start at the bottom of the scoreboard and work their way up. So they are telling 6 of the contestants, sorry, no televote for you. And it's just like, that seems kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, like the reason I don't love the 12, 10, 8 boil down is if they hadn't done that, everybody would have had points on the board. I did the math. It would have like none of the top 5 would have changed positions.
You don't know, like, going in if that's going to be the case, but yeah, it's just like, yeah, I don't know, a note for next year perhaps.
Yeah, but yeah, we had the wild moment that like number 3 with the jury, Milena Vucic, got 0 points from the televote.
She took it in great stride.
Yeah.
She's like in her scorpion crown. And it's just like, oops, oh well. And which is weird, because like I would have sworn that she would have gotten at least 1 point.
Yeah, that one blew my, yeah, just like that. I'm like, this one feels like it has the juice for both sides.
Yeah, and like she was the closer of the night. Like, it was just like, yeah. So better luck next year, or maybe we'll see her in San Marino. Who knows? So
I love that we just have the constant threat of they might pop up at San Marino now.
And then this is where things get complicated. So after the results, Neon One's Clickbait was declared the winner. They were going to be the representative for Montenegro. They would be the first palindromic act name since 2013, which is a really fun tidbit. But yeah, there was video that surfaced of the band doing a sort of work in progress version of Clickbait at a festival in 2023. I feel like that is the risk you take when you have your national final in November and you're the first country to do that, where you are getting outsized attention from the fandom, where they are bored and hungry and yeah, it's like just want drama. I feel like if this revelation happened like February 15th when there are like 12 other finals going on, people just would be like, yeah, like the EBU would probably be okay with it. It was just like, just kind of like hand wave it, especially since it sounded like it was a work in progress version. It's possible they may not have even remembered that they did that performance. And
this feels like a lot of internet sleuthing happened.
Yeah. And it just blew up in kind of an out of proportion way where it's just like, oh, okay, like the song is disqualified. That doesn't necessarily mean the band would be disqualified. I mean, it kind of gets into the rules of Montesong and like what they wanted, but it just kind of threw the whole contest into, it just made a bigger mess than I think it had to be. Like Vladana, she resigned from the board the day after and was demanding answers from the broadcaster. So it just sounds like there was like a lot of bad communication. But like the original rules of the contest said that the song might end up being replaced anyway. Like it really was more of a contest to select the act. And if they just happened to have a song that worked, then we'll see. But yeah, the band ended up withdrawing because it's just like, yeah, we're really not interested in this level of scrutiny. So, which is a shame, but that's totally fair. They went to the runner up, which was Nina Zizic and her song Dobrodosli. So, yeah, what do you think of this track?
I mean, this had been one of my favorites over the course of Montesong, so I'm happy that it plays second and will be their entry. It feels like a good re-entry to the contest for Montenegro. Like, Balkan ballad, it's something we love, it's something we want. It feels like the same sort of thing where, like, whatever Albania sends is usually the first taste of the season to come, and it's never, like, an indicator of one way or the other. I'm just like, but I was delighted that somebody pointed out that, oh yeah, she was like the singer in Igranka in 2013, so it's lovely that she's back.
What I really like about that piece of it is, and you kind of saw this in her performance at Montesong, like she had like the gauzy blindfold, she knows staging, she knows how to work the stage, she's open to the presentation aspect of it. Like the way that I described her presence in Igranka is the Borg fairy.
Yeah.
And she owned the stage of that performance as well. So, yeah, I'm excited about this pick. The song, yeah, it's fine. Like I'm not getting winter vibes from it, but it's a very long time to May, so like...
Yeah, so like, who knows? Maybe this is the vibe. Her live vocal during Montesong was really good, which I think is great. The song feels like it has good jury potential, which I think is important.
I think they have a good foundation to work with here.
Agreed.
Congratulations, Montenegro. Welcome back to the contest.
Yes, and then the other major announcement this week in terms of definite participant, Czechia has dropped their artist on us. And it's going to be, I'm going to pronounce this wrong on purpose, ANDONXS.
No. Pronounce it correctly, Ben. No.
Fine, Adonis. But there's like an X where the I is supposed to be because, you know, SEO.
Which anyway, I do appreciate. We'll get into that.
Yeah, which like I do appreciate. It's like doing like the whole churches thing where we're instead of the U, it's a V. But yeah, anyways, this is Adam Pavlochin, who is 29. He is a previous winner of Superstar Czechoslovakia, which is basically Czechoslovakia Idol. From 2021. He did a cover of Arcade in the final because that's when we all did those covers of Arcade. His song for Basxl is uncompromising, cheeky, sometimes cinematic, and with room for dancing, which that feels like a fun combo of things.
Yeah, it also feels like not particularly useful information.
Oh yeah, no,
I mean, it's like
that gives me nothing to hold on to, although like the list of influences kind of does. His current influences were listed as Troye Sivan, Mahmood, Sufjan Stevens, Ray, Conan Gray, someone who's just Aurora in all caps, Joseph Salvat, but also mentions growing listening up to Queen, Prince, Elton John, and Depeche Mode. That part has me interested, the Depeche Mode of it all.
His bio also included that he's like a championship street dancer. So, yeah. And like, did you watch the Arcade performance that he did?
I did not.
Okay. I mean, like, he has like really good vocal tone, and on his like Wikipedia page, like, one of his like special skills is, basso profundo. So it's just like, okay, this is, I'm just curious what we're going to get. Like, it's,
yeah. Just, I'm getting, just again, from the list of influences, interesting vocal stuff because you have like you have Queen, you have Stefani Stevens, and it's like the Basso Profundo. Okay, so like vocal range, and then like Depeche Mode, like naming that like something kind of like 80s or like very electropop, but also could be potentially in like an industrial direction.
No word yet on when his song's going to drop. I'm at least curious what we're going to get.
Some very interesting tea leaves to try and read here.
Before we get into all of the stuff we are going to be talking about with national selections, just kind of want to check in on news about the EU or the Eurowhat universe. As we mentioned, we're over on Blue Sky now at Eurowhat. One of the features that dropped were the starter packs, which is where you just kind of grab everybody in a certain category and you can just click follow all and you're automatically subscribed to all of the people on that list. Danny from the Wind Machine podcast put together a couple of starter packs for Eurovision folks. So join Blue Sky and immediately have like 500 people you can follow, like fans, fan media, EBU stuff. It's a very thorough list. So we'll have a link to that in the show notes. But yeah, come on over. It's been a lot of fun as selection season gets into full swing. I think it's going to be a real party over there. Mm-hmm. Over on our website at Eurowhat.com, we have our calendar of all the national selections, which is very full at this point, and our general 2025 page with information about this year's contest and links to our various Spotify playlists of everything that is being submitted for a selection season. Like, we've already have like 60 songs that are out in the wild. I haven't even done today's sweep of things, but yeah, that list is going to be popping soon. So very excited about that. Ben, do you want to talk about the Patreon?
Yeah. Like, so thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. You help make this show happen. We are so thankful for your support.
Absolutely.
We are dropping by the end of the year one of my favorite episodes for us to do for on the Patreon side of things of just what are the other pop culture things that sort of captured us this year. We have some real wild ones this year, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
That one's going to be a good time. So now is a great time to join, and that will show up in your inbox when it's ready.
Yes. And for our next episode, it's going to be our last off-season episode before we start like really focusing on the weekly news of Eurovision. We thought we would hop in the time machine and go back to the 2000 Eurovision Song Contest. It's a year that ends in 0. Pew, pew, pew.
Pew. And it's been 25 years since then, which is a number that ends in a 5. Pew, pew, pew.
Did my rewatch of it before we started recording today. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to that conversation because there's a lot of stuff that is popping up this year that ties back to that contest. So yeah, that one will be dropping in 2 weeks. All right.
Okay.
Are you ready to start talking about national selections?
Yes, I have done my stretches. I have girded my loins. I am ready to talk about all of the other selections that we know about.
We have divided this up into 6 groups of things just so that one person isn't talking the whole time.
It was a concern.
Yeah, and there's like no real rhyme or reason. Like I was trying to do it like chronologically and then like geographically, and it's just like, nope, like we just have this list. I'm just going to divide it up by into groups of 3. So
all right. So let's chat. Poland is participating. Hooray. Yay. They are one of the 38. We had been waiting on them last time. They seemed like they were probably going to be in the contest, and great news, they are. They will be doing a national final on Valentine's Day, February 14th. I think this isn't the first time that they've had one on that day. That seems to have like some significance for them.
No, actually the 2011 selection was on Valentine's Day. I remember that and having the exact same sort of question of, oh yeah, I think that was a fun coincidence. Mm-hmm. No word yet on if Jojo Siwa has submitted anything to be part of that national selection. I'm guessing probably not.
Yeah, so. I'm also guessing probably not. But I mean, the nice thing about that one is that it's a Friday, so it's going to be them and Germany.
Yes.
And then Moldova also confirmed. Selection Națională will be happening again. Submissions are currently open until the end of December. And auditions will be happening mid to late January. So just like a nice little warm-up for the season to come.
Adds a little bit of randomness to the process. They may have a national final. They may just do the auditions and be like, nope, it's that one. Bye.
Yeah, just like, and again, just like some wonderful ambient television.
Good source of memes as well, so...
A nice little warm up for the big guns of the season, because speaking of big guns, MGP, has confirmed they are going back down to one show with 10 acts. That will be happening on February 15th, which is one of the Super Saturdays. Contestants for that will be announced in January.
I'm a little surprised that Norway went this direction, but I'm also kind of relieved. Norway's pretty solid when it comes to their selection process. Like the one night MGPs was definitely appointment television when it was back in that format like 5 or 6 years ago. So
yeah, and like my general feeling about MGP has been like the final is always good. It's just been I've just found the heats frustrating. So they've answered my prayers.
Let's see, hopping over to Armenia, they announced that they will be participating, yay, and they are bringing back Depi Efrotsil as their national selection, which I'm very excited about. I loved that format back in 2017. I don't get the sense that it's going to be the like full-on voice clone format that they had in 2017. I think it's probably going to be closer to what they did in later versions. Their most recent version was in 2020, where it was, I believe there was a semifinal and then a final. The contest is open to citizens and residents of Armenia or anyone of Armenian descent. And their registration page has been very explicit about like what the eligibility requirements are, to the point where I was looking at it, it's just like, you know, all the other countries should really just copy and paste this, because this is a very thorough, unequivocal list of just like, you must be age 16 on this date. You must be this. You must be that. And it's like, yeah, like very straightforward. No word yet on when that contest will be happening, but I will definitely be circling it on my calendar when it does come up. Iceland, they are planning on announcing their entries for Songvakeppnin on January 17th, and they're also hinting at possible format changes. I don't know what that necessarily means.
I have a hunch, because there was some controversy last year over the voting in the final because of how they do the 2 rounds. Bashar Murad, I think, was leading fairly well in like the first round of voting, and then things just really shifted in that second round. So I'm wondering if they're just going to adjust how final voting works in whatever final they use, where it's just like 1 round rather than 2.
I also wondering like what they're going to do about the language piece of it. They may not tweak that at all, but like one of the rules of Songvakeppnin is in your first round performance, you have to perform in Icelandic, and then second round, you can perform it in another language, but whatever language you stick with is like that's what you're sending to Eurovision if you win. Again, like thinking of like Bashar competing last year, it's like he had to learn Icelandic to perform in the first round for a song that was intended to be in English. So I feel like Songvakeppnin may be in need of a zhuzh. Like it is a pretty like standard format that they've been using for quite a long time.
Can they make the contestants do a round where they need to be on Kapsmal, that game show about the Icelandic language?
Yes.
Although, speaking of that, Vibe, like I follow Ruve on Instagram, and they keep announcing each week's contestants for that. And Vibe from this year were just on.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, Ben mentioned this in our last
Patreon. We had Iceland Airways. I now have a new Icelandic game show I'm obsessed with.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. So Finland has announced that Sani and Jasmine Balud are going to be hosting UMK, and that the artists will be announced on January 8th, with their songs revealed every weekday for the next week following the artist announcement. So the same format that they've been using the last few years. That's such a nice treat in January. And January 17th is my birthday, so I feel like this is a lot of birthday stuff that is headed my way. So like thank you broadcasters. Much appreciated. So
thank you, UMK. For Spain, Benidorm has announced 16 acts. There's a lot of electronic and dance in the resumes, so that's an interesting choice. La Chipa is a backing singer for Rosalia. Lucas Bunn is a Berklee Academy of Music alum. Melody was the runner-up in Spain's 2009 selection. Sonia and Selena competed in the 2001 selection. So just like a lot of people who have done this before who have music bona fides, which is interesting to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Spain's usually spoiled for choice when it comes to that. So
yeah, we will have the songs for that later this week as we record on December 18th. The contest will be January 28th, 30th, and February 1st.
Yes, and tickets have already gone on sale for Benidorm. I have not checked if they are sold out yet. I don't think I'm going to be able to go, so it's just like I did not want to break my own heart. So,
Yeah, and then Belgium has announced their 8 acts for their selection, and they put an emphasis on being able to perform live, which, you know what, that is important.
Mm-hmm.
There are several voice and other reality show alumni, a couple of folks who tried to do Junior Eurovision, and then a Nepo grandbaby. Len's grandfather, Louis Napes, competed in 1969 and was part of the tie for 7th place with Ireland.
I'm always intrigued by the people who have like their like grandparents, and man, I have a feeling great grandparents are going to start popping up at some point. And yeah, it's just like I have no idea if that has any like real bearing other than, oh yeah, musical talent probably like passing through the family, but beyond that, like I don't think it provides a competitive advantage.
And then Luxembourg has also announced their artists. They are going to have 7 acts. The group One Last Time and Rafaela competed last year. We will have their songs on December 19th, and that final will be January 25th.
Again, a lot of music going to be available by the end of the month, which I'm very excited about. Latvia has already released some of their music and announced the artists that'll be competing in Supernova. And a lot of notable names. We've got City Zeni, who represented them in 2022. Not as abrasive an opening as their last entry. But let's see. We've got Marcus Riva, who is trying for, I think this might be the 10th time. It's between him and Samantha Tina for like most attempts to try to represent Latvia at Eurovision. Mm-hmm. This year might be the year. Who knows? And then Just, who represented Latvia in 2016, is back with an entry. The songs are available now. Most of them are on Spotify, but there's also a playlist on YouTube that has all of the songs available. There's going to be a semifinal on February 1st with the final on February 8th. And this is another one where it's celebrating a broadcaster anniversary. This is the 70th anniversary for LTV, pew, pew, pew. And it's also 25 years since Latvia's debut at the contest. So pew, pew, pew for that as well. We will definitely be talking about that in the next episode.
Yes.
The one that I think Ben is most excited to talk about, Melfest. They have announced the artists that will be competing this year. The list includes past Melfest winners, John Lundvik, who represented Sweden 2019, Arvin Garna, who represented Sweden in 1993. Yes. I watched that contest. I was there. No. And Måns Zelmerlöw, so winner of the 2015 contest. Arvin Garna was also on Ben's list from episode 240, where he was speculating on who might be good to consider for Melfest.
Yeah. No, and we also have Clara Hammarström, Malu Pritz, and Yay. Dolly Style.
Yay for me, boo for Ben.
Yeah. I mean, no, like there's 4 of them now, so maybe that's the group dynamic they needed. What if there was a 4th one?
Yeah. What do you? Is this a new Voltron configuration, or like what how does the bar graph look for participation this time?
Oh no, just like the bar graph is a mess because the yellow one, who is the new one, used to be, I believe, the purple one. Yeah, no, it's sort of like when the Green Ranger like left but then came back and was the White Ranger.
Yep, I was just going to say Oh, kids.
90s kids get it.
Yeah. Other notable acts that are going to be competing this year, Andreas Lundstedt was part of the group 641 that represented Switzerland in 2006. So you're getting that Swiss connection in there. Myra Omar was a contestant on season 1 of Love is Blind Sweden. So that's a fun connection.
So just sort of like the Gunilla Persson reality television person role.
I think that goes to Victoria Silvstedt, who is a supermodel that was once Melania Trump's roommate back in the like Miss Universe days. Yeah, I was going down her Wikipedia page and it's kind of what, like, I mean, like she is an established supermodel. And one of the things that popped up for me was that she was on the series finale of Melrose Place. And I was just like, wow, how do I not know about this. There was a podcast that I listened to, again with this, that was doing an episode by episode recap of Melrose Place. And I ended up re-listening to the entire series finale episode. And she's in like the second to last scene. And it's just like, oh, that's why I don't remember this. So yeah, like, I don't know if I'm going to be as supportive as I was of Ganila's ambitions last year, but yeah, you crazy for this one, Sweden. So, but yeah, Melfest will be kicking off February 1st. It's an interesting mix this year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's still my turn.
Yeah, it's still your turn. One more.
Yeah, and it's another smaller. It's one of the smaller finals. Italy, San Remo. So the plan originally, I think, was for 24 acts. They have expanded to 30 acts because Italy just can't help itself. In terms of Eurovision alumni, we've got Achille Lauro, who represented San Marino in 2022, Francesco Gabbani, who represented Italy in 2017, Francesca Michelin, who was Italy's representative in 2016, and Massimo Ranieri, who represented Italy in 1971 and 1973. Italy's going to Italy. It's going to be fine. It's going to be an amazing show. Pack a large dinner because you're going to be there for a while. Those shows will be happening February 11th through 15th. So yeah, Italy is going to be part of that February 15th super duper Saturday.
Croatia announced the acts for next year's edition of Dora. They have changed up their candidate selection process to avoid a baby lasagna situation where their best performing entry ever was on the standby list.
Mm-hmm.
And amongst the names there, we have Magazine, who represented them in 1995 along with Lydia, and Marco Škugor, who has represented them in 2013 as part of Klapa Shmora. That will be 2 semifinals and a final, and will be sometime in the latter half of February, which is looking real packed.
Yeah, I'm wondering if part of the plan is just to kind of avoid the traffic jam situation, to make sure that there are more eyes on Croatia than there would be if they had it on like the 15th, because 15th is booked.
Yeah,
go for the 22nd.
Yeah.
Even March 1st, that might be a good one, although that'd be competing with Serbia, I think. And so who knows? But yeah, very excited for Dora this year.
Yes. Estonia, we have part of the lineup there. Tommy Cash and Anna Celine are definitely through to Istilau. So the songs are now available for the known finalists. 20 songs are up for a wildcard spot, with voting starting on December 28th on Radio 2. That wildcard will be announced January 6th, and that is one of the February 15th finals. Serbia has also announced its acts, and much like Italy, was like, what if instead of 28 we did 30? Amongst those acts are Bohana Radovanovic, who is part of Bohana and David and represented Serbia in Junior Eurovision in 2018. Bohana and David were part of Serbia's process last year, where they finished 7th. So, like, they are alumni. We also have Dusan Kurtic, who is 6th, and Filari, who was in the first semifinal. The semifinals for Serbia will be February 25th and 27th, and the final is on March 1st.
Lithuania, they have announced that there are going to be 45 acts competing in Eurovision this year. Is that on par with last year? I was trying to remember.
I think so. Yeah, because I think the early heats tended to be fairly stacked with upwards of 12 to 13 things. That feels about right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just worried that this process is getting closer to the Lithuanian marathon. I'm still pouring one out for Pabanda Mishnaujo, but yeah, and it's also very strange this year. There is not one Monica on the contestant list, and yeah, I think that may be a first for the Lithuanian process. I haven't gone that far back, but they may have Vilja, who represented Lithuania in 2014, or Ieva Zazimauskaite, who represented Lithuania in 2018 as their representative this coming year. Lithuania's already had to replace one of their entries. The list came out, I think it was this past Tuesday, and then on Wednesday they're just like, oops, we need to change this, because the song Aurora, performed by Evelina Ganchevska, it was either withdrawn or disqualified. Either way, it's not competing because the song had also been selected for Dora which is being performed by Tina. This might be one to keep an eye on if two national selections wanted to put it forward. But Ben, you did a little bit of deep diving on this one.
Yeah, like you mentioned that offhand, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And like I picked up this rock and I found so many interesting bugs that that I was like, no, I need to tell Mike immediately. So like the song is a co-write between Valentina Guric, who is Croatian, so obvious why it went to Dora and not Lithuania. But the other writers are Ylva and Lena Persson, who are a duo called Twin Flame, and they are Swedish. And in looking them up, because I'm like, oh, Swedish, okay, that makes sense why multiple countries probably got this song. Did they write anything for Melfest? And hadn't really found anything for Melfest, but then looked on the Eurovision Reddit, who's like, these guys have written a lot of songs, and then went to their YouTube page where they have a playlist of all of the songs they've co-written. And there's a lot. Like, they've written a lot of songs for Moldova, a lot for Romania, a lot for Lithuania. They haven't actually won any selections.
Okay.
But then also there's just like a real Sweeney Sisters energy to their YouTube page, because just in addition to just sort of pumping it out for various national finals, they will show up to your event and do medleys. Like, they have an ABBA medley, they have a Eurovision medley. I'm not sure if that's like actual songs that went to Eurovision or songs they wrote for Eurovision. Unclear. But they have a song called Hello, We Are Twins, because they are twins. So just like, I don't know, it's like, I'm just like putting a pin in this for like next off season, just cause these guys can't be the only ones who are who are producing a lot of the content for like the various national selections, which is like, who else is doing this?
Yeah. Like this has Ralph Siegel vibes around it, and I want to see if there's any sort of connection there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this sounds fun.
Oh yeah, no, I was not expecting there, like, I just figured it was Swedish songwriters, but just like, I didn't realize it was these Swedish songwriters.
Lithuania's process will begin January 11th. I believe that is the earliest one that is happening in January. So, gonna get so much laundry folded. Cannot wait. So, and then another final that is going to be happening in January is Greece. They are going to have their final on January 29th, which is a Wednesday. So definitely Stan a non-Saturday final. So, that'll be great. The plan is to have a 50-50 jury televote. They've had 187 submissions. They're planning on having up to 12 acts competing. One of the things that I'm intrigued by is the show is going to be produced by Mad Media Group, which is a pretty prominent like audiovisual concern in Greece. So it could be a really rockin' show depending on what sort of entries they get. So excited about that. Greece has won the contest once, and that was back in 2005. So it's like 20-year anniversary since their win. Pew, pew, pew. We'll see what comes of that.
If nothing else, just like book Helena Paparizou for the final now.
Yes. Or have her host, have her pull a Vladana, but like not resign in anger.
Yeah, in the way that where she doesn't resign in anger immediately afterwards.
Yes, everything up to when the winner is announced. There we go. All right. Let's see. Malta, they have announced who their artists are going to be for their Malta Eurovision Song Contest. Kurt Kaea, who represented Malta in 2012, is on the contestant list. This is not to be confused with the Kurt Kaea who competed in the first quarterfinal in last year's process on the late night show where the special guest that night was Kurt Kaea 2012. That wasn't confusing for me or my spreadsheet. So, Malta's gonna Malta. But yes, the plan is to have the semis on February 4th and 6th, with the final on February 8th. And finally, Slovenia. They have announced their 12 acts that will be competing in the EMA final, which will be taking place on February 1st. Kind of going back to our discussion of SEO, their artists could use a little help in that regard. Did not find much information about most of them, although Clemen is probably the most notable one. He hosted the 2020 edition of Emma. He was the one who did the history of Slovenian entries at Eurovision. So very curious to see what he brings to the contest. Because he does have that kind of like satirical sense of humor about him. So one to keep an eye on. But yeah, that is all of the upcoming selection news. Very long laundry list. Again, check our website, Eurowhat.com, and our 2025 page. We have this all outlined in much clearer detail.
We have links, we have calendars, we're good to go. We have identified which are the weekends you're not going to see your family.
Yes. So yeah, do not have plans for February. Just cancel them now. Coming up before all of that, Albania's Festivali Kenges kicks off on December 19th. That will be running through the 22nd, and the format is very similar to previous years. So Thursday is 15 acts. We will see the rankings of the televote and jury for those 15. Friday, it will be the other 15 acts. We'll see their performances, we'll see the rankings. Saturday is Nostalgia Night, with all 30 acts performing, previous Festivali Kenges songs, other, your normal sort of thing, just sort of like San Remo. And Sunday, it will be the final. There will be up to 18 acts. The festival winner and Eurovision act will be determined by jury and televote. There will also be an Albanian diaspora component. Yeah, I have no idea how that's going to work, but I'm very curious to see what they're going to try to implement. So, that is a fun thing about FIK. They're always trying new things. And, and I just hope that Montenegro didn't steal all of their early season drama generation power. So, and the other big event that will be happening before our next news episode is the ESC 250. Woo! Voting for that closed over the weekend. So if you've not gotten your ballots in, sorry, folks. But yes, this is a countdown of a fan vote of favorite Eurovision songs of all time. It will be happening on New Year's Eve day, and it's going to be taking place on the web radio station EFR 12 Radio. We will have a link to that in the show notes. And it's a good time. Yeah, especially here in the States. I usually wake up pretty early and pop in at around 180 in the countdown, and then usually wraps up at about I'd say 6 p.m. Eastern time. So you have a whole day of listening to Eurovision music, and then you get ready for your New Year's Eve party or whatever you plan on doing New Year's Eve. And yeah, it's a great way to just kind of gather one more time in 2024 before the 2025 season truly begins in earnest.
Yes.
Did we get through this?
We did it.
We got through this. Yay.
My scrolling fingers are tired.
Yeah, but we managed to make it under an hour. That's amazing. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully the news will be less laundry listy in the coming weeks, but who knows? There's a lot of stuff that's already on the calendar.
Let's see, anything can happen. All right, and that's going to do it for this episode of the Eurowhat. Thanks for listening. The Eurowhat podcast is hosted by Ben Smith, that's me, and Mike McComb.
That's me. You can find our full archive of almost 250 episodes on our website at Eurowhat.com. If you'd like even more episodes, join our Patreon. You can relive the cautious optimism of the American Song Contest, hear about Ben's adventures at UMK and Iceland Airwaves, and help financially support the show. You can get to the Patreon through our website or by going to patreon.com/Eurowhat.
Next time on the Eurowhat, we celebrate years that end in 5 or 0 with a visit to Eurovision 2000 25 years later.
Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew, pew.